said I looked like his 18-year-old daughter. And then he bought 5 dances from me.
That's fucking disgusting. Well, at least he bought the dances. Yeah.
This is a clip from the movie Anora, an Oscar-winning film, which condones giving lap dances to pedophiles, as long as you get money out of it. They try to get away with it by saying that the daughter is 18. But even if this were true, there's a 100% chance that a man who says something like this has been creeping for many years prior to his daughter turning 18. Liberal feminists say that they condemn making immoral decisions for money, but that's all thrown out the window when prostitution is involved. I guess Democrats aren't actually anti-capitalist after all. At the 2025 Oscars, Anora won awards for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Editing. This movie has won so many awards that it has its own Wikipedia page just for the awards it has gotten. But is Anora a good movie? After all, until not too long ago, Harvey Weinstein was the most thanked man at the Oscars, which suggests that the Oscars are corrupt. The answer is, for the most part, no. Its intended message is exceedingly anti-women. After all, you can't encourage women to participate in prostitution and still call yourself pro-woman. Though there were rare parts of the film that were more nuanced, even unintentionally anti-prostitution. And the film's accurate portrayal of male violence is something worth taking a look at. Before we begin, a quick introduction. My name is Mariana, and on my channel I dissect film, television, and video games from a radical feminist perspective. So if this interests you, please consider subscribing. And a quick spoiler warning. I'll go into further detail regarding the story later, but here's a quick summary of the plot. Anora is a stripper and prostitute who meets Nikolai, the son of a billionaire Russian oligarch. Nikolai pays Anora to be his girlfriend for a week, and after that short time, they get married in Las Vegas. When Nikolai's family finds out, his family seeks to annul the marriage. Anora, now in love with Nikolai, attempts to save the marriage. She fails, as Nikolai is too weak to stand up to his family. In the end, Anora and Nikolai divorce. Throughout this video, I will use the word prostitution rather than sex work. The intention behind this is not to shame or look down on the women in the prostitution industry. Rather, it is to rebel against the sanitization of language used to describe a dangerous line of work. Sex work sounds clean, safe, ordinary. The word prostitution is more accurate to reality, a reality that is exploitative, degrading, and unsavory. In this scene, Anora gets angry when called a prostitute or a hooker. She is living in denial.
2 недели я тебя оспаивал. 2 недели. И ты женился на проститутке? Ёб твою мать!
I'm not a fucking prostitute!
The director of the film, Sean Baker, condones prostitution. In one of the very first scenes, Anora flirts with unattractive old men as part of her job. Most sex buyers tend to be physically and mentally repulsive. If they were attractive enough to get female attention for free, why would they have to pay for it? This makes prostitution unpleasant. If it were not for the money, prostitutes would not go anywhere near these men. When Anora gets married to Nikolai, she quits her stripping job. I found this strange. After all, this is a movie partly about the merits of prostitution. If the work was so empowering, if she truly enjoyed stripping, why would she quit it for a man? The film undermines its pro-prostitution message by showing that Anora was only a stripper for the money, and that in reality, she did not enjoy giving lap dances to unattractive men. Money serves as a form of coercion. It is therefore logically inconsistent for anti-capitalist liberal feminists to endorse prostitution. In Louise Perry's book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, she writes, aside from a handful of high-class courtesans and call girls who might attain some degree of social status, usually having come from poor backgrounds originally, the prostituted class has historically been composed of women with no other options, the destitute, those abandoned by their partners, those addicted to drugs or alcohol, and those captured in warfare or tricked by traffickers. Prostitution is an ancient solution to the sexuality gap, and it is not a pleasant one. She's right to point out that historically, the prostitution industry has exploited poor women. The prostitution industry is by nature capitalist and exemplifies the worst parts of capitalism. Capitalism is generally a better system than communism. But like all systems, when capitalism is taken to its extreme and when it is not properly regulated, it can become unethical. Furthermore, strippers and prostitutes don't even make that much money. According to ZipRecruiter, the average salary for a stripper in California is $36K a year, and the average payout per OnlyFans creator is $1,300 per year. But the median number is probably much lower considering the top creators on the site make such a disproportionately high amount compared to the majority of creators. But liberal feminists are hell-bent on lying to women about this. In almost every mainstream movie about prostitution, strippers make a crazy amount of money at their job. Anora is no exception. In the film, Anora receives several $100 bills while giving Nikolai a lap dance. Additionally, she is paid $15,000 to be Nikolai's girlfriend for a week. This doesn't even factor in the luxurious gifts he got her, like this coat, which is Russian sable fur. For context, a coat like this would cost around $5,000 on the low end and $50,000 on the high end. Considering Nikolai's father is a billionaire, the coat most likely was closer to $50,000. She also received a 4-carat diamond ring, which goes for around $8,000 if it's not from a designer brand or custom made. This lie that prostitutes make a lot of money gives false promises to women. Additionally, large corporations are unlikely to hire ex-prostitutes. These jobs unrelated to prostitution likely pay more. Going down the path of prostitution is typically a long-term financial loss. The main love interest, Nikolai, is a weak nepo baby with no competencies of his own. His character can most immediately be described through his costume design in this screenshot. Are those Gucci logo pants? Whoever was the costume designer on this movie did an excellent job because I do not think I have seen this moronic of an outfit ever, and this accurately reflects his personality.
Your suite is almost ready.
What the fuck, man? Are you fucking kidding me? You mean I have to wait? You mean we have to wait right now, bro? Yes? Yes.
I am fucking with you, dude.
We will stay here. It's nice to come back.
Anora initially meets him at the strip club where she works. The day after, she goes to his house to exchange sex for money. Their relationship is entirely transactional.
Wow. Not too shabby.
Bedrooms, upstairs.
Nice view.
After a few days of hanging out, Nikolai pays her to be his girlfriend for a week, and then after that week, he proposes. They aren't shown going on any one-on-one dates, and a lot of their time together is spent in his living room, with Nikolai gaming while Anora just watches. I will give credit where it's due. The film made a good decision in refusing to romanticize sex buyers. Too many liberal feminist films portray sex buyers as virtuous or attractive progressive men in order to promote the pro-prostitution agenda. Like all sex buyers, Nikolai lacks self-discipline and ends up cheating on Anora with another stripper. Yet Anora does eventually fall in love with Nikolai.
I love my husband, and I plan on being with him forever. Vanya and we are in love, and we would like you to accept that.
Anora's naivety is clearly a flaw in her character. This flaw shows that prostitutes do get hurt because of the transactional nature of their relationships. This aspect of the plot has an unintentionally anti-prostitution message. The radical feminist approach to prostitution abolition is the Nordic model. In the Nordic model, sex buyers and pimps are criminalized, while prostitutes are not criminalized. Resources are given to prostitutes to help them leave the industry and find employment in other fields. This model abolishes prostitution without making life unnecessarily difficult for prostitutes, who most of the time are only in the field due to poverty and trafficking. Personally, I think that this is the best solution proposed so far. At the same time, I do think that personal accountability should be encouraged in certain types of prostitutes. It is true that, for example, prostitutes who are trafficked are not at all responsible for their situation. And obviously, it would be cruel to imply that they need to take personal responsibility. However, the same cannot be said for middle and upper class prostitutes who choose this lifestyle out of their own free will. And prostitutes within this group that encourage other women into the industry are even worse. Some parts of the radical feminist community believe that all prostitutes are simply victims of a patriarchal society and have no agency whatsoever. In October 2024, Lily Phillips, a prolific OnlyFans creator, had sex with 101 men in one day. She filmed all of this and sold the videos online. According to this Daily Mail interview, she grew up wealthy and therefore did not need to do this. Julie Bindel, a radical feminist, wrote an article comparing her act of having sex with 101 men to rape. There was no acknowledgement of Lily Phillips' agency whatsoever. I have respect for Julie Bindel for her work in the UK courts, where she advocated for the rights of abused women, specifically women who killed their violent male partners out of self-defense. However, I disagree with Bindel's take regarding Lily Phillips. Saying that women like Lily Phillips are only victims and have no agency whatsoever enables their self-sabotaging behavior. It does not help Lily Phillips to tell her that none of this was her fault. It would be better to tell her that she shouldn't have chosen to do this because she should value her physical and mental health. If someone is self-sabotaging, you don't coddle them. You tell them to make better decisions. It is not the fault of women that we live in a degenerate world full of male perverts. But it is our responsibility to do whatever we can to preserve our own well-being and the well-being of other women. Lily Phillips tells other women that they too should participate in OnlyFans. I think that radical feminists should hold her responsible for this.
You hear what I said? I said it's because your son's a fucking pussy.
Все, пошли.
And you are a disgusting hooker. Is this my scarf?
Yeah, you want...
In this scene, women who condemn prostitution are portrayed as regressive and part of the patriarchy. Earlier, a group of men used that scarf to bind and gag Anora. The scarf is intended to be a metaphor for male control and male censorship of female speech. Nikolai's mother owns the scarf and calls Anora a prostitute as an insult. The film implies that she is complicit in male systems of control. Although it is true that some women have hatred towards prostitutes, this is likely not the majority stance of women who do not partake in prostitution. There's a difference between having disdain towards prostitutes and having disdain towards prostitution. Mainstream film lacks nuance when discussing women who oppose prostitution, usually only portraying us as pick-me women who just enjoy shaming other women. Liberal feminists are quick to denounce radical feminists for being too moralizing. But what's wrong with having morals? In her book, The Lesbian Heresy, Sheila Jeffries writes, "The accusation of moralism tends to be directed only at political analysis of sexual practice and is unlikely to be made about such analysis of other issues. In fact, it would seem likely that political judgments are most commonly based upon morality. It is likely to be a sense of what is right and wrong, which fuels anger at what is seen to be oppression. It is not fashionable to discuss morals in a capitalist society, particularly in the 80s and 90s when the market is ruling all such discussion irrelevant. But it is just such a sense of right and wrong, rather than any more mysterious process which underlies political judgment. In other words, at the end of the day, having any political opinion requires being moralistic in one way or another. When liberal feminists accuse us of being too moralistic, they too are being moralistic and judgmental of us. It is impossible to be truly non-moralistic or non-judgmental in politics." In her essay, Choice, Feminism, and Fear of Politics, Michaele L. Ferguson writes about this, pointing out that, as a response to criticisms that feminism is too radical, exclusionary, and judgmental, choice feminism evinces a fear of politics. Her essay is a good read and only 7 pages. I would recommend it. And she's right. If you are afraid of appearing judgmental, you are afraid of politics. Being moralistic doesn't mean being puritanical or belittling others. Being moralistic is having a consistent code of ethics that you're willing to stand by and not being afraid of the politics involved. The movie's stance on prostitution is undoubtedly illogical. But again, credit where it's due. The movie's portrayal of male violence was flawlessly accurate. This is not an overstatement. And the film's skillful condemnation of male violence is actually good justification for watching it. After Anora and Nikolai impulsively get married in Vegas, a group of Nikolai's family employees go to his mansion to force the newlyweds into a marriage annulment. Nikolai flees. Anora tries to go after him, but the group of men use illegal force in order to prevent her from following Nikolai. One man, Igor, who is creepily eyeing Anora earlier, physically blocks her path. When she rightfully fights back, he physically holds her down and ties her up. Another man asks Agora why he tied her up. As a response, Agora repeatedly blames Anora for being crazy. He uses this as justification for use of aggression, even though he is the one breaking the law, and even though he's clearly the psychopath in this situation. Agora doesn't see Anora as a person, but more like cattle.
Let me go, you fucking asshole! Goddamn
Ну она
fucking
бежит, братан, я тебе отвечаю.
There's also a revolting sexual undertone to his treatment of her, as he forces her to remain on top of him. When she screams, the men gag her using the scarf mentioned earlier. While Anora is tied up and during subsequent hostage scenes, Agora attempts to be friendly to her.
Sorry for what
Let's go, let's go, let's go!
happening. Options back there. Потому что я
I don't want you dude talking to me, okay?
Нормально он.
Mink, ёпта. Is it a real mink?
Я тебе говорю, я не могу больше разговаривать. Я должен...
No.
Please, я тебя прошу. Я тебя прошу. Перестань.
It looks like real mink.
This is a form of narcissism, a need to think of himself as the good guy despite being a clear abuser, which is a common trait among violent men. He also does this as a way to flirt with Anora, as he is clearly attracted to her. Later on, the psychopathy of the men is further highlighted when they wreck a candy shop. They also disrupt a celebration in order to ask if anyone knows where Nikolai is, bothering everyone in the building in the process. After that, they aggressively take back their car from a parking violation tow truck.
What do you mean, fuck me? Fuck.
What you need to
I don't give a shit. Get the fuck out of my way. You get out the fucking car. You fucking asshole. Bro.
Oh my fucking god.
It's all because of you.
The film primarily relates male aggression to control.
Я могу ее развязать, но вы от нее ничего не добьетесь, она неконтролируемая.
When Anora and the group of men find Nikolai again, they all go to court. Agora and his associates hope to get Anora and Nikolai's marriage annulled. This court scene is the only scene in the entire movie in which these men are not in control. In this court scene, the men are finally put in line.
Get him away from me.
Officer, take him back to the scene.
Thank you, officer. I appreciate it. And thank you, Your Honor. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
This shows that the law has power and when utilized correctly is one of the few things other than money that has authority over violent men. It turns out that the New York courts cannot grant an annulment because the marriage was in Las Vegas. So they must fly to Las Vegas in order to get an annulment. Since Nikolai does not love Anora and is unable to stand up to his parents, the marriage is eventually annulled. After the annulment, Agora takes Anora back to New York. By now, Agora has, repeatedly, stared at Anora for prolonged periods and exhibited fake displays of niceness in hopes of getting sex. In the final scene of the movie, Anora has sex with Agora, despite the fact that he's an off-putting person. During the scene, he displays aggression, which triggers a trauma response in Anora, and she cries. The movie ends with Agora holding and comforting Anora as she cries, still believing himself to be the good guy. The film's portrayal of male violence, control, and narcissism is brilliantly accurate, and a surprising departure from pro-prostitution films like Hustlers, which was almost completely optimistic in its portrayal of the prostitution industry. Anora glamorizes the prostitution industry to an extent, but not nearly as much as I was initially expecting. Overall, I would give Anora a mixed review. Anora's advocacy for the prostitution industry so clearly degrades women's rights and dignity. The quote-unquote swerf opinion is often misunderstood, and this film contributes to the public's misunderstanding. In reality, most women share the same opinion as radical feminists. Most women do not participate in prostitution and have no interest in doing so, not because of stigma, but because we know the dangers. Radical feminists do not oppose prostitution in order to serve the interests of men. In fact, our contempt for the unchecked libidos of men and their lack of self-control is partly what motivates us to abolish their access to prostitutes. It's just hard to admit that you're a radical feminist, and it's much easier to not question the mainstream feminist status quo. But going along with the status quo in this way is like a Faustian bargain, trading the dignity of others for the safety that comes with being liked by the online majority. I'm new to making YouTube videos, but I plan to make more soon, and consistently. If you enjoyed this video, please consider following me on Twitch as well. I live stream occasionally, so if you want to hang out and chat, feel free to stop by. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.